And we're back. Welcome to part 2 of State by State on the Appalachian Trail and our thoughts, good and bad. We are picking up now with New York.
New York.
Start spreading the news.
Thoughts on New York. Really enjoyed Harriman Park. The stones, the steps going through up the mountains and stuff. Very nice. Mm-hmm. I think it was the beginning of New York was a little tougher than the end of New York. Once you got toward northern New York, it was a lot easier hiking. But met a lot of people in New York. It was scenery good, liked it. But we did run into some 100-degree heat indexes in New York that made it pretty punishing for hiking. I do believe we took quite a few off days to escape the heat. 3 days somewhere, I think we got off. Just because it was just too hot to hike.
Yeah.
And you couldn't. The water was a little bit of a problem in New York. We started running into. Well, actually, we started running into problems with water in Pennsylvania, and it continued through New Jersey and New York and Connecticut. But New York, I'm trying to remember. There was a flag on top of a mountain to commemorate the 9/11, and a painting, and that was pretty cool. And we did have one really nice motel stay in a town called, I'm having trouble naming the town, but it was in one of the very few American-owned hotels along the trail. An old Italian gentleman that his dad had owned it, and it was we'll put the name of the hotel in there because it's reasonable price. He did our laundry and very enjoyable stay.
Tuxedo.
It was a Tuxedo Hotel, I believe, in Tuxedo, New York.
Yeah, it's right before you get into Harriman.
This is my salute to him. He was a very nice gentleman.
My Yankees. Okay, for me, again, record heat. Blue melts in the heat, and she was melting. So we spent 3 days in Fort Montgomery at the Holiday Inn Express. So that was nice. And then the Lemon Squeeze is in Harriman State Park. So that was cool. We managed to get through it. I had to take my pack off, but we did it. I think that's it for New York, for me anyway. Next up, Connecticut.
I don't have much for Connecticut. What do you got, Blue?
We entered New England in Connecticut. Yes, so that's a big deal. And there's a waterfall in Connecticut that's right by. It's part of a hydroelectric plant, I believe. But it's pretty nice. It's very pretty. We were able to walk out on the rock a little bit and get some video, and yeah, it's really nice. And there's a couple delis close by, so I know we did a couple times. We stopped in and got some sandwiches and stuff near there. And then I think both of us, by the time we hit Connecticut, we were just worn down physically and mentally. I think this is the point for us where we both were kind of like over it, and we're wanting to wrap this thing up a little bit. A lot of people, they get the Virginia blues, but we did not. I think partly thanks to Hard Rock. But Connecticut.
Connecticut blues.
Yeah, we did. But it didn't last long. All right.
My thoughts on Connecticut was that is where everything got very pricey.
Yes.
Connecticut, the prices went insane.
New England.
New England. But Connecticut was the first time I saw candy bars for $4. Small ones. Each. $4 each. That was, I think, out of the entire trip, Connecticut might have been the most expensive place we tried to resupply. And that's even at grocery stores. That's not at like gas station prices. Connecticut was one pricey place.
Yeah, we stayed at a hostel and went down and walked down into town and resupplied at their, it was a grocery store, but it was one of those little local expensive markets, and it's the only thing in town. So you kind of were stuck. You had to do it. And yeah, it was a lot. It was more of a tourist town.
Yeah, I just was not a fan of
A
Connecticut.
lot of summer homes in that area, so a lot of money.
Or the prep schools, a lot of prep schools. The high schools
Yeah.
actually had better football fields than like our colleges.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing what you could just smell the money walking through there.
All right, on to Massachusetts. What you got?
Massachusetts. We were told by some Massachusetts hikers that the people there are known as massholes, and we thought that was pretty funny.
It was. I guess it's because they drive so poorly.
That could be. I think that was the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Massachusetts. We stayed at Greylock. Greylock's a pretty cool place. A monument, a war monument, and they also have the I believe it's called the Baskin Lodge.
Bascom Lodge, yep.
Yep, and that was a pretty cool place to stay at. What else about Massachusetts? What do you got? I'll come back to it.
All right. So I do have, Mount Greylock and the Bascom Lodge. The lot, it's so historic. I think it was built by the CCC. If you're in the Massachusetts area and you want to go to Mount Greylock, it's the tallest point in Massachusetts. So there's that. Beautiful views on a clear day. It was raining, of course, for us, so it was kind of fogged in the day we got up there. The lodge is really cool. It's kind of busy, but so you got to be prepared because you can drive up there. So you have a lot of tourists that will drive up there, do a little day hiking, stay the night. And then the other thing is there's an AT stand, and I can't remember the name of the town that it's in, but basically you hike down a hill to a road, and there's this farmhouse, and they have this really cute, looks like a little red barn out front with an AT symbol on it. And it's a snack stand, and they have all kinds of stuff that you could possibly want as a hiker. It's all on the honor system. You can Venmo them money, or you can leave cash, and you just buy what you need or want. They had ice cream and soda, Powerade, water, snacks. They had like other kind of things toiletries you might need. I forget what all else, but it was really cool. And they have a dog there in the fence that can bark all the time, but they have picnic tables set out in the shade. They let you charge your stuff they have a charging station inside this little stand so that you can dump your trash. It's just really cool. So that was a highlight.
In Massachusetts, I forgot, we stayed at a place that I called the hippie commune. It's actually called Racebrook Lodge.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty bare-boned type hostel, resort. What do they call it?
It's kind of a lodge resort
kind
of
lodge
thing.
hippie commune resort. But
I guess it's historic. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's very historic. But yeah, and we ate at a place called Hot Harry's Burritos. And if you're in Massachusetts and you're on the trail,
I think that's Dalton or
not
Carlisle,
sure.
one or the other.
But Hot Harry's Burritos is an excellent place.
Really good food.
Yeah, really good food there. That's another thing that I remember about Massachusetts.
Yeah, we would walk down. The trail goes through there, so we walked down into town. You walk past another dam. I think it's a hydroelectric, and I don't know what else they do there, and then you walk through town, and then the trail picks up, but we kept going and stayed at the town right outside of there because it's a little bit bigger, has more motels and a Walmart and stuff. But yeah, we stopped and got lunch at that town. That was really good.
We also got caught in a rainstorm in Massachusetts, and if there's anything in town, any event, they really raise their hotel prices. We tried to get a hotel, and the cheapest one we could get was a rundown travel lodge for $400
a night. It was Saturday night.
So we ended up taking a shuttle up to a town called Lee.
Yeah.
So if you get stuck in Great Barrington, and there's an event going on, you're going to want to stay somewhere else.
Yeah, it's the summertime. We've done our section hikes the end of May, and we never ran into issues with any of that. But since we were hiking and we got there in the summer, you got a lot of, again, New Yorkers that come to their second homes for the summer. Apparently the Boston Symphony has a summer camp or their summer stuff in there near there too. And there's some sort of an outdoor venue, I think it is, but there's a venue that holds concerts, and there's just concerts all the time. So it's always busy on the weekends, and it's always super expensive. New England. All right.
Now we moved on to Vermont. Vermud is known because it's usually very muddy. We found New Hampshire to be muddier than Vermont, but they call Vermont Vermud.
Yeah. But I will say, so we cross over into Vermont right at the sign there, and we're standing in a mud puddle. Kicked it off.
We did. Vermont was it got very green, and the forest in Vermont were some of we thought the coolest forest we'd seen. Mm-hmm. It was just very green, very dense in spots, and just the trees were a little bit different. And it kind of revitalized us a little bit seeing Vermont. Mm-hmm. Didn't last long, but yeah, it revitalized us for a while.
Yeah.
And also when we crossed into Vermont, we met a couple young hikers, Biscuit and Maester, and it was really cool. They were both, I think, on their first long hikes. They were hiking the Long Trail, and just watching them experience the trail for the first time was kind of cool. And we hung out with them for a while. We stayed at a hostel with them later on, and it was very cool meeting Biscuit and Maester. And I think there were some people that we'll stay in contact with because we just enjoyed their company, and we were quite a bit older than them, but we all got along really well. It was very, very cool.
Yeah.
What else about Vermont? I got stayed at a place called the Green Mountain Hostel.
Really nice hostel.
Really nice hostel. Very well ran. The owner was very friendly.
Yes.
Shuttle driver was great from there, and that was a really cool place. And we also stayed at a place there, a hostel called the Wicked Way Station. And the Wicked Way Station.
Wayside. Way Station?
I think it's the Wicked Way Station. And that was a very cool place too.
Yeah, it was nice. That Maester and Biscuit were there too at that one. And they had all kinds of games and stuff.
Then we moved on to New Hampshire.
Oh, wait. I got some stuff on Vermont. Yeah. I don't think it's much more. It's rainy and muddy. And it was beautiful. Yeah, Drifter's right. The forest was gorgeous. I don't know what was different about it, but it was really pretty. The trees are different, I guess. The pines, I'm not sure, but it's really cool. It almost looked like an enchanted forest. A lot of moss and stuff growing in different greens, so it was really pretty. And then Vermont, we started running into the 4,000 footer, I think, the
Killington.
Yeah, Killington, but there's a lot of 4,000 foot peaks in Vermont and New Hampshire, and so there's a lot of 4,000 footers in Vermont and New Hampshire, and a lot of people out there trying to bag those 4,000 foot peaks. So we started running into a lot of those people starting in Vermont.
In Vermont was Killington. The mountain was probably our first really stunning big view.
Yes.
In New England.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Then we moved on to New Hampshire.
All right, on to New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. That's when the game really changed.
Shit got real.
It was some tough climbing. It's a trail, but it's also, and there's parts that are just where you're trying to get a toe hold and a finger hold. And first place, saw a girl actually crying.
And it wasn't me.
She couldn't get up the ledge.
Yep.
And it was New Hampshire was really something. It was I don't know the hiker's name, but I'll never forget his face. He by the time you get to New Hampshire, if you're hiking from Georgia to Maine, a lot of people are pretty much done. They're over it. But we met a hiker, and he said, his friends told him once he got to New Hampshire, it was going to revitalize his soul. He repeated it once and looked at me and he said, F that. Well, he didn't really say F that, but
he said the real
yeah,
word.
He had the look of misery on his face. As bad as I felt, I think he felt worse.
I think so too.
It's just some tough hiking in New Hampshire. We just had some really good views, and we hung out with the Mandarin McGee's and Blues Clues that we had met back in Maryland. And we also had been hiking since Vermont on and off with a hiker named Steps, he was hiking with the Mandarin McGee's also. And we had a little bit of a tramily going, and that was kind of nice. Mm-hmm. The White Mountains, just beautiful, but very tough. Mm-hmm. You got Mount Washington, and just a lot of the hiking was brutal in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. But the views, it was like you're paying the price for the views, because the views were so nice. We stayed in a hut. They have huts that you can stay in, and they're overpriced. It would have been, for me and Blue to stay in one, it would have been $400, close to $400, and you don't get a shower. You get a breakfast in the morning. But fortunately, at one of the huts, we did do a work for stay, where they let you sleep on the floor. We slept on the floor in the library there, and we were able to eat breakfast in the morning after everybody else was done. And we had to clean the windows in the bathroom and sweep the floors of the hut.
Mitzvah.
We stayed at Mitzvah Hut. We passed on all the other ones because of the price and the fact that you can't even take a shower, and you're paying that kind of money. It just...
Yeah, and other work for stays, by the time you have to get there within a certain time frame. They only allow 2 through hikers to do this a night, and you have to be there by 4 o'clock. And all the other times we got there, except for the very last hut, we were beyond 4 o'clock, so it was already gone anyway. But except for Mitzvah, we got there in time.
I would really recommend a hiker in New Hampshire. You can find them in the Far Out. I want to say Gut Hooks, but it's Far Out now. It's an app, and his name is Ziggy, and he is a very good shuttle driver.
He's awesome.
Yeah, really great guy. Mm-hmm. My New Hampshire, like I said, I think it was a long, 7.5 months, and we were getting very tired.
Yeah. New Hampshire, we got up one morning, and I was going to take a picture of a beautiful sunrise, and got my phone out and proceeded to drop it on a rock. So we ended up back in town for 2 days, because
hitchhiking.
You had to hitchhike into town and go down to the Verizon store, start that whole claims process, blah blah. They had to wait another day for them to get the phone in and stuff. Anyway, it turned out fine. In the end, I got a new phone. Drifter got an upgrade on mine.
And we met a wonderful guy. So it all worked out. And the George at the Verizon store, he saved our behinds on my phone for sure. He was great. Thank you, George. What else? Mount Washington. We got a perfect day to climb Washington. It was sunny, maybe 5 mile an hour breeze, if 80
that.
80
degrees. Probably a little too hot for Blue anyway. But of course, that made it incredibly busy. That trail was packed. Just a Congo line straight up the mountain. But I'd rather have that than some of the other. They can have snow at any given time during the year. So we got really lucky. It was a perfect day to climb Mount Washington, and it was really pretty. And New Hampshire, muddy. It was really muddy throughout the entire state. And you have all these high alpine bogs, which were surprise to Drifter and I didn't anticipate that. You're so high up, I didn't think there'd be any
swamps.
Yeah, but there were, and a lot of them. and we got our fair share of mud all over our shoes and our shins and stuff, because some of these bogs, you really, I mean, you could sink your trekking pole all the way down, and you probably could still keep going. I would not want to step off of that. It'd be tough getting out of it. But yeah, Drifter touched on the difficult terrain, and by this time we're scaling sides of mountains. You're putting your fingers in a crack in a rock and trying to pull yourself up, and grabbing pine trees on the side of the trail just so you don't fall off of it. It was pretty intense. New Hampshire was intense. And then Franconia Ridge, absolutely beautiful. One of the things I really, really wanted to see on the trail, and we hit a perfect day for it. It was a long day, an exhausting hiking day, but it was gorgeous. And you could just see forever. So very, very lucky on that. And it's very beautiful. Beautiful views everywhere. That brings us to Maine.
To Maine, and we were really done with the trail by the time we hit Maine. We were saying we would never put a backpack on again. We're never going to hike again. And
throw it on the bonfire.
Burn it up. But we were told New Hampshire for us was very difficult. The younger people seemed to handle it a lot better than we did. And someone told me that southern Maine was going to be even more difficult. And I laughed. I said, it can't be. Well, they were right.
Yes, they were.
Southern Maine was, I was going to say the hardest, but no, I guess the hardest was the last day on the trail. But southern Maine was brutal. Again, with the footholds and toe holds and rock scrambles and just everything. Some of my favorites on the way to Katahdin, though, was staying by the side of a lake where the loons were entertaining us. That was very cool. The scenery was by far better than the previous 13 states. We thought the views in Maine were just, you just got to see it to believe it. I know we took the videos and you can see it in the videos, but to see it in real life and to be out there where it's very quiet, and like I said, you got the loons and just the birds, and it was I look back now, 2 months, we've been off the trail for 2 months, and them are the kind of views that draw you back to want to hike again.
I agree.
What do you got?
Yes, beautiful views in Maine. Maine, they do not believe in bridges over their waters. So you're fording a lot of streams and rivers, and you really have to be on your game and pay attention to the weather to make sure that you can cross some of this stuff safely. I mean, they do have the one crossing where you take a canoe. The guy comes and picks you up and brings you to the other side of the lake. So there's that, but otherwise you're fording it. So pay attention when you're out doing that, if you're going to go hike in Maine somewhere. But it is gorgeous. That is my favorite state out of all of it. It's just so pretty. The woods are incredible. The views are phenomenal. I loved it all, and it was tough. Maine was tough. It's kind of, you hit the 100-mile wilderness. I mean, it's not as remote as people lead you to believe. There are ins and outs, and you can do resupply food drops. So you don't fear that. But yeah, it was tough. And Katahdin, oh boy, that was, again, I think I can speak for the two of us when I say that's not our kind of hiking. We don't enjoy
rock scrambles,
boulder scrambles, rock climbing up the face of rocks. That's not us. So for us, that was really difficult and not the funnest. But I will say the views, once you back yourself up against the side of the wall of the mountain, and you are sure you're not going to fall off of it, and you look around, it is just stunning. I mean, the views were really pretty. But man, that climb was all of that. It was tough. The climb up, and then we took the hunt trail, the AT, up, and summited and then turned right around and took our pictures and got out of there because we knew it was going to take us a while, and took the A-Ball Trail back down, which was a whole nother pile of fun.
It was 4 a.m. We left.
We didn't, so we stayed at a campground outside of Baxter State Park.
It was A-Ball, wasn't it? No?
I can't think
I'm
of
not sure what the
we'll put it on there.
Yeah.
We'll put it in there.
But we left there at 4:30 in the morning, and we finished up at 7 o'clock that night. We didn't spend a lot of time on top of Katahdin by the sign. We got our picture taken. Blue busted through the pile, cleared everybody out like a linebacker. And
well, they were kind of in my way, and they were just standing there having a summit party.
She lacks patience at times.
I got things to do.
Yep, so she scattered everybody, and we got our picture taken, and we knew it was going to be a long hike down. We heard it was a lot better than the Hunt Trail, but I don't know.
It was pretty sketchy.
Yeah, Blue ended up ripping the butt out of her superhero shorts. It was we did a lot of sitting down and
I did not fall.
Scooching.
Yes, we butt scooched because you really needed to. But I think, was it 15 miles that last day?
15 or 16, I think,
yeah.
or something.
And that's, for us, that's a big day anyway, let alone...
And that terrain.
Yeah, let alone that terrain. That was... We got back down and to where we were going to get picked up to go back into Millinocket to the hostel before dusk. I forget what time it was, but we got there before it got dark, so that's all that mattered.
I think of a quote that I heard. One of the presidents said that when the new president was coming in, he said, "I hope you're as happy coming into this job as I am leaving it." And I thought about that going down the trail. I thought, I was so happy to get on the trail in Georgia, but boy, howdy, was I happy to be going home.
Yes.
I knew I was going to go home to my bed and my creature comforts, my porcelain potty, just everything that gives me joy.
Yes, just being home. Of course, we've spent the last 2 months catching up on everything, appointments that needed to be done in the 7.5 months that we were gone. So it's been a busy couple months.
But we'd like to thank all of you for watching us do it, watching the videos, and all the shuttle drivers and the hostels that I probably didn't mention that I should have. The Lookout Hostel was one of my favorites, and I think I mentioned that in another video, but just thanks for everybody that rooted us along and viewed our videos, and the people that sent us Venmo.
Yes.
That was highly appreciated.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Definitely send a super shout out to Sherry and Ben. That really came in handy, and we'd like to thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody. And yes, we definitely appreciate you following along with us, and hopefully we didn't scare anybody out of hiking the Appalachian Trail. Hopefully we inspired somebody to get out and either hike the AT or hike a trail locally by your place. It's funny because we both said we're never going to do this again, never going to do a long hike, never going to do more than an overnight. And I'll be darn if we're not thinking about not a 1,000-mile through hike like that, but
maybe
some a couple 100-milers. But we'll see. We'll see what spring brings for us.
Maybe another Appalachian Trail hike. Maybe a flip starting in Virginia and going up to Maine, and then coming back from Maine, getting a ride down there to Virginia and going south.
Might have other better things to do, and we'll see. I understand why people will through hike multiple times the Appalachian Trail. Number one, it's familiarity, but two, I think especially in the New England area, it is really beautiful, and that's where you get some amazing views. And it's almost like you feel like there's stuff that, even though you saw it, that you could see it in a different way, different time of day, different time of year. Weather, yeah. It's just I see why they do multiple through hikes.
Okay, this has been a long video for us.
Somebody's been going on and rambling.
Yaki. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Go hike something.